I just want to bring you some.
Oh, I'm live accidentally. I'm caught by surprise. I'm glad I didn't do a DSP. It's really interesting with your live streaming. It's actually one of the most common nightmares that YouTubers and Twitch streamers have is that you're clicking the live button and you don't notice, but the chat will definitely notice. And I noticed this when talking with people from my community. They all have this nightmare. You could actually make a horror show for YouTubers, and they would get scared. It's like get them around the campfire and tell them. So I was in the middle of the room, and I got my sock ready, and accidentally, without knowing, I pressed the live stream key. And everyone at the table is going to be like, but yeah. So I said by accident that Mr. Dapperton is an anarcho-communist. My bad. He's an anarcho-capitalist. Okay? I mean, it's still anarcho, but was a capitalist, was a communist. My bad. I made a noopsie, which is kind of funny because the first time I made the video, I'm pretty sure I said capitalist, but then I said communist. FML. It is what it is. You know, now you can't take it back. It's etched in blood. Well, maybe I will be able to somehow fix it. I don't know. Should have thought it before. It's so annoying because I don't script my stuff. You know, I'm free flowing, and every now and then you say something that's an accident, and you can't take it back. 20 minutes free flowing. Yes. Anarchy won't work. Get over it. Yeah, I agree. I mean, you can have an sorry. So when you actually say anarcho-capitalism, what they really mean is no government, and I think it can work. Like for example, if Elon Musk manages to colonize the moon, and there would be like no government oversight, like no government is involved, then de facto on the moon, SpaceX would be the authority. Now, you need to understand, like when you say anarcho-capitalism, you don't really mean like complete anarchy. No, you mean like a place where governments don't exist. So you don't have a government. But you can have corporations dictating stuff. So you can have corporations setting the rules. So technically it's not anarchy, but it's part of the ideology of anarchy. It's kind of complex. You need to understand these words are usually coined by political scientists. So yeah, I mean, if you were to have a place like the moon right now being colonized by a couple of corporations, you could say that's anarcho-capitalism. Right? So there's that. I do not add text on screen. You go to other YouTubers for text on screen. I do not. I do not do. Government is anarchy? Nah, that's not what it means. No, like people who are against government. On the left, they're the anarcho-communists. And on the right, they're the anarcho-capitalists. And then you have like anarcho-environmentalists, which are like the people against, I guess, civilization. Like they would want people to revert back into the woods. Their flag is black and green, which is absolutely stupid ideology. Probably why you don't hear about it. But there's like different flavors of anarchy. Yeah. ANCAP is no government and free markets. That's literally it. And is such a system possible? Yeah, I think it is. And I gave you an example of one that I could foresee. Is it stable? I don't think so, because eventually, like, those people on the moon are probably going to rebel. And what ends up happening is that they will form a government of some sort. So, that sounds as feasible as the communist utopia. Well, which one? The environmentalist anarchists? I mean, maybe they can get their wish, you know, you can have World War IV and then you have like nukes flying around and stuff. World War III, sorry, my bad. See, this is what happens when I'm tired. How would those corporations not be a de facto government? Well, you know, when you think about a government, you think of stuff like military, police, blah, 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 and like representing people. But no, like they would be a corporation, which, or maybe you can have like multiple corporations. So you wouldn't have just one, which means like there wouldn't be a government. Now you can have like a board of corporations that they get to discuss things. But again, it's not a government just because people will say, well, yeah, but that would be the de facto government. Right. But I guess like they could just go bankrupt and then they could stop existing, right? A government isn't like that. If a government goes bankrupt, it still continues on. So I guess like that would be one of the major differential factors between one another. And it's also operating by different rules. I mean, like let's not get into that. I don't want to philosophize on that right now. Right. What should we talk about? So Saturday, well, actually Friday and Saturday, probably Sunday as well. I'm going to go on the honeymoon, and let me show you where I'm going to go on the honeymoon. I found the place. It's chosen by my godparents because we're going to go together in Romanian Orthodoxy. I told you how the grandparents, the godparents work. So I didn't choose the place. It's a little bit more expensive than I would have wanted, but okay, whatever. I think it's this one. I don't know if this is the one. I think. God damn it! I had it saved just to show it to you guys, but now I'm not so sure. All right, so it looks kind of like this. You get to have like there's this company which rents old houses. They're not really medieval, but they're really old. And inside they actually restructured them in order to make them look like more modern. So they replace, like they add electricity to them, they add heating and all of that. So you rent one of these little houses. I heard that it's going to rain. Excellent. And this is the place that we're gonna visit. Looks like this. It's a mountainside, and you can climb the mountain if you want. I hear there's bears right now because of illegal deforestation. A lot of people chopped wood, so the bears are going into the city, and they're scaring people. And there's also like some really cool monasteries that I can see. And I'll take some pictures from there, probably put them on Twitter. I don't think I'll make a YouTube video, but I'll probably not be able to stream, obviously, and I'll do my best to see if I can record some videos on Thursday for during the period that I'm there. It's actually incredibly cheap, so it's not very expensive. I mean, it's more expensive than I would have expected for a place like that, but how much is it? Let me see if I can put it in. I think it's like $80 a room per night. So I'm sitting there like 2 nights, and it adds up. But for Romania, it's really expensive. Like I expected a little bit more cheaper. All right, whatever. Maybe I'm a cheapskate. I don't know. I'm just trying to save money to pay for a house. What do I know? Anyway, let's talk about other things. Take the Grand Power pistol. I love the fact that people remember about the Grand Power, the T-Power pistol. No, this cannot be like political defined. What do you work as? Are you like some oil rig expert? Are you a person? No, I think political defiant is a Fed. All right, like that's what I'm going to think right now. He works for the Fed. There's no way you can have so much money. Like there absolutely is no way. You already gave me like $300 this. Well, actually not this month, because all right, new month I suppose. New month, new wage makes sense. But I just want to say like my fiance, well my wife now. I should get used to it. My wife saw your donations and she's eternally grateful. So if you ever come to Romania, I guess. She can make you a really good ravioli. If you come to my house, I'm going to give you a ravioli. Because you deserve it. You gave me a lot of money. Yeah, he definitely is a person working for the Fed. I don't think it's the FBI, it's the Federal Reserve. Right? Like he prints money for a living. It's what he does. I think he prints money for Biden. And every now and then the machine runs out. And while people are getting the new paper, Political Defiant just pockets some of that cash and gives it to me. Maybe, he's like the Nigerian prince. It's like, hey, V, hold this money for me. Make sure that nothing will happen. Huh? Yeah, $300 worth of ravioli. Absolutely. By the way, speaking of that, like they opened a new shop in Romania, like a supermarket with Asian cuisine. It's called Taste of Asia. You get a lot of Chinese shit there, Japanese and South Korean, and they have like these really interesting shiitake mushrooms, but they're like so nice because they store them in airtight containers. It's really great. Maybe I'll make you like some ravioli with mushrooms. Huh? Personal house recipe. Is it blasphemy if you add mushrooms to ravioli? I don't think it is. Alright. He works for an oil baron? No, I think he works for the Fed. There is no way people can have this amount of money. How many people are watching? 98. I think we can start with the main dish of the day. So, I don't know if you guys saw my videos on my gaming channel. But every day there's like a new thing coming up from this catastrophe that the people at Fortnite thought it would be a good idea. And it's weird because like in a way it's not a bad idea. I mean, teaching kids about history, you know, like that's kind of great. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I was playing Rome Total War. And on Rome Total War, you know, it was a grand strategy game, but you could right click on the units. And you could have like information about them, like historically accurate information about them. They would tell you like, hey, so these are the legionnaires. Like the legionnaires were chosen between the families and blah, blah, blah. Their equipment was blah, 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 blah. And after finishing their military career, they could own land. And so it was like really interesting. Like I knew so much about Roman history from playing that game because I love to delve into the lore. But with that said, it was a historical game. I mean, it was Grand Total War, and you would learn things about the Roman military while playing it. So it fit the narrative. All right? Like when you play Fortnite, a video game that tells you headshots do more damage, and you have people running around as Rick Sanchez and the Xenomorph getting lectured by Martin Luther King on civil rights, I don't really think it's a good idea. It's not in good taste, right? So it's pretty much like everything that's woke. It is shoved down the community's throat, whether the community likes it or not. So none of the Fortnite players, as far as I'm aware, asked for this. Like no one, if you went a year ago, hey, you know what would be a good idea? What? Have MLK speeches? Like no, none of them asked for. So this is actually done in collaboration with Time Magazine. Like why the fuck does Time Magazine care about Fortnite? Goes to show how well they are reaching the kids. Here's something, and I said this on my other channel. When I was a kid, I don't remember what the teacher would tell me about the Communist Party, because I know like every kid in the kindergarten, you know, they had to stop playing and go to these like they would form a circle around the teacher, and the teacher would start lecturing to you about the glory of socialism. So they tried to get you at an early age, like pedophiles. But I remember that I was really distraught and really upset because the moment I was having fun, at the moment I was enjoying myself, boom, no, we need to talk about the Communist Party. And I never understood, like, the concepts about the Communist Party went well beyond me because, like, I was a kid, I didn't understand anything about politics. But what I did understand was that I really hated it. Maybe that set me on a path to capitalism, huh? Honestly, like, these people don't understand that, like, just because you try to tell something to a kid doesn't mean that they're going to receive what you're telling them. Here's a perfect example. Barbie dolls. Barbie dolls, you know, they're designed to play with it in the dollhouse and whatnot. I think like every single kid pulled out the head of that Barbie doll once, just to see how it's like decapitated. And then, like I remember my cousin, she would pull out the arms and the legs, and they would put her on the ground, and we would use the car that I had, and it's like, oh no, Barbie's in a car crash. Call the police. Right? So, what I am trying to say here is it doesn't work like that. Like, these people have absolutely no skills in learning how to reach those kids. You don't reach the kids this way, all right? And they're trying to do this because it's Fortnite, which is a game that is predominantly played by children, as certain Twitch streamers with colorful beards found out. So to the surprise of many, right? Like, this is Kotaku. Like, even the people of Kotaku are like, what the fuck? To the surprise of many, Epic Games added a new mode to Fortnite last week. And by the way, they also removed a lot of emotes that are considered to be, how should I say, uncharitable, right? It's like, imagine this way. You have your game, and now they're going to have like a speech of Jesus. They have Jesus Christ in Fortnite, and they remove all of the negative emotes in order to make sure that the event is respectful. To me, this adds even more disrespect because, like, I value freedom most and foremost. So if you're going to push something in a game and then remove stuff, like reduce the freedom of the player, I'm just going to look at you with disgust, not because of what you're doing, but because you're trampling on people's freedom. You don't hold freedom as an important aspect. You don't think freedom is worth of a damn, you know? So that's what I get disgusted by these people. Like, people who step on the human rights, I don't like it. They disgust me. Time Magazine, you're disgusting. Seriously, like, why would you do that? Why would you take people's freedom away? I may or may not have found one of those alphabet agencies' money palettes. They leave them everywhere anyways. Just look at Afghanistan and South America. Oof, says Political Define. Reminds me when, what was it? Was it Germany? Yeah, when the Germans captured Romania, like when sorry, no, Germany. When the communists, when the Soviet Union went into Romania, they found the printing press and they caused inflation because they started printing money. Did they live up the tomato vending machines? No, that was the last time. So the last time they did this, they already figured out, like, scientists should have told them. It's like, hey, by the way, it's a bad idea to do this. Like, these kids don't really understand what the fuck is going on, so just stop it. Because, like, the kids bought tomatoes from vending machines and they were throwing it at the speakers, like the BLM speakers. So anyway, celebrating the legacy of March of Washington for jobs and freedom and the man who led it. But, like, look at what they wanted, you know? Like, they wanted concise things. They wanted jobs. Anyway. MLK daughter has since distanced herself from the event. It all points back to long-standing disputes over how the father's legacy is going to be used. Epic released a new mode called March Through Time. Between loading screens talking about headshots and player dressed up as Superman and Rick and Morty dancing in front of the Lincoln Memorial, the well-intentioned educational initiative nevertheless raised questions. No, I don't think it's well-intentioned. I don't think it's well-intentioned at all. I think it's done by dumb people, stupid people, which do not understand a little bit of child psychology. Probably people who don't have kids themselves. And they thought, you know what, this is going to make us look good. It's going to give us some cred because we're doing this. You know, like, I'm willing to bet the only reason they did it is for the virtue signal. That's it. No well-intention whatsoever. So, hours after it went live, the MLK Junior Center for Nonviolent Social Change Twitter account wrote, "The King Center does not license Dr. King's intellectual property and therefore was not involved in any decision." Like, literally, every adult in the room is realizing, okay, this is bad. We're distancing ourselves. Like, fuck this shit. You know, it's like, it's like, everyone is like Kamala Harris saying, no way you're going to pin this shit on me. Like, for those of you who don't know, Kamala Harris, before the Afghanistan withdrawal, she was like, trying to take credit for it. It's like, oh, she was the last person to leave the room. Like, she was the one that really hammered that. Like, she dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. And after the event happened, she was caught saying, no way they're going to pin this shit on her. Like, she's not responsible for anything. So it's pretty much like how the other companies are acting now about this. It's like they're acting like Kamala Harris. It's like, nope, nuh-uh. Bernice King, the center CEO, then quote tweeted that message, adding, "Decisions around licensing my father intellectual property are outside my personal purview." You know, like, imagine if this would have been a great success. Like, if it would have been a huge success, do you think these people would distance themselves? Probably not. The company stated the event was a collaboration with Time Magazine. Yeah, notice how none of the players were asked about this. Like, they didn't poll the community. It was also based on an existing virtual tour time had put together with the museum the year prior king, the center. By the way, if you'd have made a museum about guns in a game like Fortnite, that would have fucking made sense. If you show like the American Civil War and like, look, these are the muskets they used and blah blah blah, and you'd have added some guns in the game, like, look, you can have like this musket or this thing or that thing. Yeah, I'm pretty sure like that would have been received differently. Why? Because it makes sense within the universe of the game. You're talking about a game with headshots, alright? Putting MLK in there is sending a different message. I'm just saying. Fuck me. The estate of MLK is controlled by Bernice King and her two brothers, Dexter and MLK III. MLK III, is it like a dynasty there? I don't know. I guess probably if my dad was MLK, I would have wanted to be called MLK II. All three have long appeared at odds with one another on how the legacy and IP would be used. While Bernice runs the non-profit MLK Center, Coretta Scott King Dexter is the chief executive for the for-profit estate and also runs IP Management, the entity which licenses the work. Despite being set up to continue spreading King's legacy and teachings, the center remains separate from the estate. The estate, meanwhile, directly goes King work and most recently cut a deal to turn publishing rights over to HarperCollins. So, you know, it's such a fascinating thing where like every single descendant has their different view and their different take. In the 2015, the MLK estate sued the center over the misuse of oh wow, they're suing each other over intellectual and physical property, and sued Bernice for refusing to hand over King's Bible, a Nobel Peace Prize, which the estate was looking to potentially sell. The first lawsuit was quickly dropped, while the second concluded a year later, with the judge ordering the items released back to the estate. This isn't the first time the Bernice King had tried to separate herself from the action of the estate and its intellectual property. Alright. What do people say? So these are the people who read Kotaku, right? Like, all the gamers got the memo, but 21 people are still reading this shit. So let's see what the people who read this shit have to say. Oh, hold on. This is archived today. I can't. I mean, I'll give them the click. See how charitable I feel today? Give them the click. This is what happens, gaming press, when you actually use when you actually use the comment section. If it wasn't for the comment section, I wouldn't have given you the click. Oh my god, Yahoo Finance actually covers this. Like, Yahoo Finance covers Fortnite. Interesting. Where's... Wait. Where's the... Did they remove... Did they remove all of the comments? Dude, did they give the comments disability? So hold on a little bit. Like, if I go here... What is going on? If I go on the archive website, I get to see 21 comments. But if I go on the actual website, the comments have disability. Oh no. Oh well, I guess we'll never know. Guess it's a mystery. I can assume the comments were way too positive, and that's why they removed them, huh? Too much positivity in the chat. That's what happened. Yeah, the comments have disabilities. They stall in the comments. That's the way to deal with comments. Yes, stall in the comments. Okay, whatever. Another thing which happened today. So, found this out on Twitter. People are saying it's not allowed to be trending. My name is Ghost. My job is to keep everyone safe. It can be tough sometimes. I'm not scared. Even though I get paid with treats, I do it because I do it for free because I love my friends. It's just I don't know where they went. So apparently, like, after the American withdrawal, there were like 25 dogs that remained. So people are a little bit upset, a little bit. But here's some good news. According to Jack Posobiec, senior editor, Human Events, Navy Intel officer, China analyst, the Taliban are saying that the dogs are still alive and being fed. Fuck me. No, seriously, just how bad can the current administration make the U.S. look? Like, is there a limit? It's like, hey, let's give the Taliban another PR win. We're going to leave the dogs there, and when the Taliban actually start feeding them, 51 dogs. All right, political divide is like, remember the number. Remember that we don't know their names, but we know the numbers. The Taliban are one sense. I don't know, like, well, what can I say about the Taliban, to be honest, on YouTube? I personally think they're bad people. I'm just saying. But it takes an administration like Biden and then corporations like Fascist Book in order to give good PR to such an organization. I mean, look, there was this speaker from the Taliban, and he was saying, and he was asked, like, hey, what do you think about free speech? And he was like, maybe you should ask Fascist Book. Like, if America can't convince their own private corporations, how do they expect to convince other people outside America? And that was a zinger that I was very displeased to hear, because only Fascist Book could give that zinger. Like, they handed that zinger on a silver platter. So about Muslims and dogs, this is my limited knowledge. I wish Abdi Muhammad was in the chat, so that I could ask him. But from what I understand, dogs are considered to be unclean. I think it's like they house evil spirits or something. I don't know exactly. But you are allowed to have a dog under Islam if it's not as a pet, as in, like, you're not having it into your house. You're not just having it for a pet. So you can't have like a Chihuahua or something. The only way you can have a dog is as a guard dog in Islam. So if you have like a German Shepherd and you're using it for guard duty, or you have like the police force using dogs to sniff out drugs and stuff, then that's okay. That's my understanding. And I don't know if it's like the same with the Sunni and the Shia and the Kurds and whatever other denominations you have. But on the other side, like, Muslims are my people, they're cat people. So they love cats. Like in Turkey, there is a huge cat culture where you have like people feeding cats and all whatnot, and everyone loves cats and blah, blah, blah. I will mix it, Abdi Muhammad. I will definitely mix it. If the government cannot keep its own corporations in check, then I don't see how the government can convince other people. I mean, look at Japan. In Japan, the moment a corporation goes haywire and starts stepping on free speech, the people revolt. If corporations start cracking on human rights, so for example, if corporations start banning free speech, and everyone in their day-to-day life experiences censorship, it's only a matter of time until people will vote censorious people into office. It's only a matter of time until people will say, well, we should get rid of the Constitution because free speech isn't important. I 100% disagree with this. Yes, if the government cannot get its own companies to respect human rights, I don't think the government can lecture other nations about human rights. So apparently, yeah, it's the exact thing that I said. I happen to be in the know. You can have a dog as a farmer, and you're only allowed to keep it outside. But I think it might be expanded, because I think in Saudi Arabia I saw like the police officers having dogs. So basically, like, as long as you're using the dog for guard duty, or you're using the dog for like business related activities, then it's fine. But you're not allowed to have the dog for what is it, like a pet and companionship and love and whatnot. Apparently Japan literally has hate speech laws. every country in the world has certain speech laws, which, by the way, I disagree. And I'm willing to bet that Fascist Book has a TOS that is a lot more larger than Japan's hate speech laws. If it was up to me, I think like the Supreme Court of the United States has several restrictions to free speech that I'm okay with. And I can justify them in a bit. But anyway, I like how more people care about the dogs versus the hundreds of journalists that were left. Yeah, I made a video and I talked about it. It's kind of weird that people are only freaking out when it comes to dogs. It was the same with New Zealand, or sorry, the same with Australia, where like you have the government going full fascist and no one cares. Very few people complain until there's the story about a rescue pound which shot the dogs so that people don't risk their health going to the shelter in order to pick up their dogs. And then it's like the government made an inquiry and blah, blah, blah. So it is a little bit weird, but okay. It would have been less spicy to make a game about the MLK assassination at this point. I think if you make it sensible, you can make a game about the MLK assassination. It would have to be... I mean, you can put it in Assassin's Creed, actually. You know, maybe you're the assassin that does. That would be spicy, but... if it's not in a historical point of view and it's interesting, like, why not? I mean, there are movies about it. Why can't you have a video game about it? So, let me look at these free speech for, SCOTUS free speech exceptions. Very few American, like, free speech absolutists are like, oh no, all free speech should be prevented. But, no, it's not the case. So, here are the exceptions that I personally agree with. And the reason I agree with is that it's not ambiguous like the terms of service on Twitter or YouTube or any other social media. Like, they're not ambiguous. You genuinely know what they are, right? Like, hate speech is very ambiguous. Hate speech can be whatever the fuck. Like, if you look at hate speech, a couple of years ago, if you said anything negative about Islam was hate speech. Now you have Emmanuel Macron in France saying a lot of stuff about Islam, and that's not hate speech. Like, if I was to say exactly what Emmanuel Macron is saying today, if I was to say it like 4 years ago on YouTube, I could have got a terms of service violation. So, right, what are the things that do not consider to be free speech? So, obscenity, right? Now, obscenity is like if I were to wear a t-shirt with hardcore pornography on myself, and I would walk, on the street, I'll probably have kids passing around me, and unless it's like a pride march, then you would be in violation of unprotected speech. Like watching pornography, like hardcore porn in a bus, where other people are there, right? So, this is very easy to figure out what it is. I mean... Now, it's interesting. Actually, no, hold on. My bad. This is actually not easy to figure out what it is. A judge said that he can't articulate what obscenity is, but when he sees it, he will let you know. So that's kind of weird, but I think it's like common sense, right? So if you're showing nudity that is not in an artistic form, blah, blah, blah. But okay, fine. Whatever. Fighting words. So fighting words are not protected because otherwise you could just walk up in front of a person, say, hey, I want to fuck your mom. And when the person hits you, like, he would be in violation. Fighting words means like walking up to someone. So it's not like something that you would say over long distance. You literally go in front of the person and you're trying to get him to hit you. I suppose, like, in a society when, during the time that these laws were written, people were very honorable, and someone questioning your honor actually could result to a duel, but not only that, it was like, you would lose the respect of your peers if someone were to walk up to you and say, hey, your wife is a whore or some shit like that. It's like, right, so this speech is unprotected, and if it was protected, right, then the person would most likely start throwing fists. But now you don't need to throw fists. Now you can literally just treated exactly the same as the person would do defamation. So defamation is what people, well, I'm pretty sure like everyone knows, like lying about someone, spreading false rumors, trying to ruin a person with that. That's not protected speech. Commercial speech, pretty sure you guys know what that is. Now, what's interesting about incitement, right? So it's not the social media version of incitement. Incitement, in this particular case, you can have like a communist ideology that says eat the rich, blah blah blah. That's not incitement. Incitement is if you're a communist and you have an angry mob behind you, and you're pointing the finger towards the person and you're saying, "Oh, he's rich, get him," and then violent and shit. So in order for this to happen, there needs to be direct damage. So the mob actually needs to go after the person. And it should be tied to your actions. So you're the one that incited the mob, blah, blah, blah. Right? So incitement of people to... and it's also inciting people to commit illegal or lawless activities. So if you go to a person, for example, like Christian, let's say, and the person is a little bit not as smart as the Grand Chess Champion, and you're inciting him to do illegal stuff, that's criminal. Well, I'm just saying. So in a seminal case, the Supreme Court announced that clear and present danger test, that is speech that is not protected when used in such circumstances, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is important because if you have the Godfather, so he's in charge of a criminal organization, and he doesn't do anything illegal, right? Like the Godfather just have like people under him, and he's telling them, it's like, hey, you need to do this and you need to do that, and they're the ones committing the crime. Then without incitement, you could never accuse someone like Al Capone of doing anything bad. So I think like incitement is necessary. But notice that, for example, the KKK is actually more difficult to catch under incitement. Sometimes it can happen. So, for example, the KKK leader in rural Ohio advocated for revenges against the government and certain minorities, as well as other incendiary comments, so he got convicted. But in order for it to be incitement, right, it's not like the terms of service on social media. It needs to provoke imminent lawless action. So not like 3 days or 5 months later. No, like after you said it, the action needs to happen. And also like be likely to cause such action. Like you need to be explicit. So in this case, like this leader advocated for imminent lawless action. So he wanted like the people during that rally to harm certain minorities. Fighting words, a similar category to incitement, is fighting words. They're not protected by the First Amendment. Words which would likely mean that the person to whom they are addressed would commit an act of violence. So, for example, there is a case where a person walked up to someone shouting, "You are a goddamn racketeer and a damn fascist." So, calling someone a fascist, like this is actually interesting. Like, I'm curious if you could sue Antifa for this, because you could probably get them to receive fines. Like, if someone calls you a fascist on the street in your face, you could probably sue them. I mean, this is actually a really good thing. So, like, if you have a group of Antifa walking up and pointing out, "Oh, this is a fascist, blah, blah, blah," if you can see his face, you can sue him later. Because obviously, like, what he's doing is he's trying to incite people. Obscenity, speech or expression that qualifies as obscene. To the average person, applying contemporary community standards appeal to prurient interest. So it has to be like to the average person with the contemporary community standards. Depict or describe in a patently offensive way sexual conduct as specifically defined by the applicable state law. And taken as a whole lacks any seriously literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. So watching hardcore porn in a bus, for example, on your smartphone. So yeah, like very few people know that this is like right now, even with the US Constitution, these are not covered by free speech. It's very difficult to make a case against them anyway. I'm not saying anything, Abdi. I'm just saying like these are like the exceptions in the United States right now, and I'm fine with them. No speech is the most free speech. You're free not to speak all the time. Oof. Yeah, but what do you do when the people start typing? To be honest, I'm actually more worried about censorship coming from the corporations rather than censorship coming from the government. And I'll tell you why. If the government censors you, at least you get a hearing, like you go to court, there's evidence provided, the punishment is finite, and even then, if you don't like the system, like maybe other people can get in power and they can change the rules. With social media, from what I can see, like there is no trial, there is no lawsuit. Like, okay, you get banned from Facebook, you just receive a memo. It's like, hey, community guideline strike. They're not going to elaborate on it if they don't want to. You can lose your job because of it. Like I know certain corporations that require you to have social media presence, and if your social media accounts get terminated, then the HR is going to have an interesting field day listening what you did. So the punishment is not finite. You get banned for life. I mean, Alex Jones probably is never going to be able to come back on Facebook or anything else. You don't get lawyers, you don't get people to listen to your side of the story, and worst of all, there is no expiration date for it. So even in the case of more severe crimes in my country, like let's say burglaring, so you go into someone's house while they're sleeping and you try to steal their shit. Even then, like after 7 years, I believe it expires. So if you don't get prosecuted after 7 years, if no one asks you anything for 7 years, then it's fine. You're treated as if you didn't commit the crime. But with social media, I know people who got banned for stuff they said 9 years ago. Let me see a DM from Abdi Muhammad. I don't see the DM, Abdi. Like I'm looking at my where did you send it? Oh my god, this is wow. Hold on. You know what, Abdi? Until you say where you send it, I'll show you something else. Like this is beautiful. This is magish. Magish. New San Francisco initiative to pay individuals not to shoot others. My fucking god. How bad must it be? How bad must it that you like at this point they realize it's like, okay, well, we can't arrest them, there's too many. So let's just pay them not to do it. Like pay the, I wouldn't even say pay them to be decent human beings. Cause this goes beyond that. Like, like not killing someone. I don't think I think it's normal. I don't think you can live in a society where people just shoot each other. Pay people at high risk. You're threatening people with good times. So if you become high risk, hey, the government might pay you money. $300 each month. Not my god, like this is making me sick just by reading. How like if this is true, and I think it's true, because this is from Newsweek. How fucked up did San Francisco ended up being? Like just what a place to live in, man. What a place to live in. This is absolutely disgusting. I mean, not to mention like how immoral it is. Like it's beyond immoral to bribe people not to shoot out. Because like, okay, so if you're a citizen that's law abiding, you don't get $300. Who gets $300? Well, the gangbanger across the street. Oh, fuck me. That is just. Oh. What happens if we do not negotiate with terrorists? So Destiny, why should I use Destiny in my RPs? I don't have a line to Destiny. You know how you want to host an RP? I've just got the best dude to be a dungeon master, and he has been me too'd and cancelled So you can get him for basically nothing. In fact, you can tell him if he DMs you for free that you'll give him a new audience or something. Dude, this is destiny.
Your support of them is contingent on you, like, coming through on the ask. Be careful for stuff like that.
Wait, I don't know. Whatever. I need to talk to you after the stream. I'm a little bit confused. We should legitimize Ayao Shuka in Europe. Let people have spiritual experiences as see machine elves. Dude, my country still haven't legalized marijuana. I'm still a little bit confused because all the studies that I've seen show that alcohol is actually worse. But it is what it is. The Arkadun dude, I don't know who he is. But anyway, right, I'm not planning on doing an RP right now, so we'll see. I'm still a little bit shaken aback by reading that article. It's like, no, seriously, I need to go back to this. This is just beyond WTF. Can you imagine living in this city where the politicians are saying, all right, we're going to actually take your taxpayer money. So you go and you work hard and you're a law-abiding citizen. We're going to take your taxpayer money, and you know what we're going to do with it? Give it to some high-risk people and pay them $300 additionally each month so that they don't shoot you. I mean, at this point, you would think you would be more likely to just pay protection money to the Bloods and the Crips or whomever, the Vice Lords or whatever gang is in your area. Hey, like, here's my protection, but it's probably cheaper, I gotta say, from my personal experience as being to law school. It's probably more affordable. It's not necessary as cut and dry as folks might think. Here's a few dollars so that you don't do something bad, but it's really about how you help us improve public safety. Yeah, do you know how you improve public safety, you motherfuckers? You hire the cops. I mean, it's already done. Like, America used to have a past when, like, all of the art in Hollywood was reflecting on this. Like, RoboCop, Dirty Harry, like, many movies that just enjoyed showing on the big screen about how criminals have their comeuppance. I remember that. And, there was, like, a mayor, I believe in New York, forgot his name. Rudy Giuliani, I think, right? He gets elected and all of a sudden the crime magically disappears. How? Law and order, that's how. And there was, like, another way that they managed to get crime to stop was that they went to the police departments and they had a couple of analysts, like IT analysts, and they went like, all right, let's look at the actual crimes and the percentages. So, and they took it separately, like drug crime, gun homicides, bam, bam, bam. And it's like, by how much percentage did the crime drop since last year? And said, not good enough. Next year, we want it dropped even more. It's pretty much like the Paris Climate Accords. They would be like, well, let's lower the carbon emissions by an ambitious rate. Yeah. You should go to the Paris Accords and say that, find a way to point out that crime caused this global warming. Like, find a way to connect it. I don't know, the carbon from the bullets, the high-speed chases in the cars as they're doing the drive-bys. Like, get all of that shit, pile it in a big folder, and then say, hey, crime actually causes global warming. And maybe then they'll fix it. Maybe then someone will be like, all right, maybe instead of paying people, we should tax them. Yeah, put a tax for drive-by shootings. Fuck me. I genuinely don't understand how it can get to this and people not be shocked. Participants will be paired with life coaches. Yeah, you go to a person that lived by the hood, as they like to say, that joined the gang when they were like 12 or something, and it's blood in, blood out, and you give them a life coach. See how that works out. You know what? Maybe I'm wrong. I admit. I admit. Maybe I don't know anything. Maybe I'm just a nincompoop. I'm really curious to see how this is going to work 1 year from now. If we're going to ever hear anything about this program before. I'll tell you what, if you don't hear anything, it's not working. If you hear everything, that's a huge success. I hope it's a huge success. Saying crime is endangering to the environment is race. They'll probably have that. Yeah, that would be the counter argument. America has a long history of fetishizing criminals. Take Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah, but like Bonnie and Clyde is less likely to rob your home, you know? It's like you're looking at things from the past that can't hurt you. I mean, it's like, yeah, the Wild West. I mean, hey, you know, like even we in Romania, we fetishize the Romanian voivodes that committed wars and whatnot. And oh, war is so beautiful, and we're fetishizing violence. It's like the same stuff, you know. You're fetishizing impalement. I mean, how fucked up is that? But the reason we do it is because it's in the past. It's like so long ago, it can't influence today. I don't think any American right now fetishizes the crime that's happening in his neighborhood. Yeah, it's pretty much what Yuri Bezmenov said. It's like criminals are the heroes and the cops are the anti-heroes. Well, I hope he does a good job, Dadi Mohammed. To be honest, that's not from New York. That's, what was it? San Francisco. The voivodes were the good guys. Depends. I mean, I don't think even by those standards, killing diplomats was viewed acceptable. Or rounding up all the poor people and giving them like food to eat, and then barring the doors and setting them on fire and sending riders to shoot everyone that runs away. Yeah, that's probably not a good thing or a very Christian thing to do, even by those standards. So yeah. I mean, it's in California, yeah, so I don't know what the demographics there are. I don't even care. It's like the idea to give someone money for, like, hey, please, can you not murder? It's the most bizarre thing to do. I would get, like, give people money not to do something else. I don't know, like, pay the money to... Let me think of a crime that would be, like, more acceptable. Pay the money not to park their car in a place. Even then, it's like, I can't think of any crime where it would be acceptable to pay people money not to do it. Because, it's, like, people should know. I guess, okay, pay people money to pay their taxes on time. There you go. Yeah, like, that is something that I agree. So if you pay your taxes on time, you get, like, a certain percentage off. Like, the governments do that, right? It's an incentive. Hey, you know, if you don't pay your taxes late, like, if you're not late 1 or 2 months with your taxes, you get, like, 10% off. This encourages people to pay their taxes on. I agree that, but, like, God. Anyway, right. Yeah, this is peak liberalism. That I'm just curious. Like, what else? What else is going to surprise? Like, when I think I'm not being surprised by anything more, it's like, hey, we need to pay people money not to shoot other people. So what the fuck? And by the way, like, here's another question, right? Like, this is something that I need to ask. What if it's a person that's on the take? Can we say on the take if you take like $300? What if it's a person on the take and he has to shoot someone in self-defense? Like, he's in a position, he's in a situation where people shoot at him. It's like, oh shit, I can't shoot back because I paid my $300. It's... Well, yeah, the Gulag Archipelago, the way it's described is that, as Abdi Muhammad said, it's like the criminals were the heroes and the police were the villains. And there's this quote where they say, if they found a knife on you, it would be very different than if they found a knife on the criminal. Because the criminal just didn't know any better. He was born in a poor place. And he just couldn't help it. But you knew better. So if they found a knife on you, you were viewed as a terrorist. Right? So basically, if you had like a knife to defend yourself, and to protect yourself from people that would try to hurt you, just by finding the knife on you, you'd be treated as a terrorist. But if they found the knife on a criminal, it's like, well, they didn't know any better. That's their culture. No, but imagine living against, like, next door there's a neighbor, and he gets paid $300 not to shoot someone. How would you feel? How would you feel about that? It's like, hey, the next door neighbor, he's on the take. Not to mention, like, here's a different question, right? If it's a person that's willing to take the life of another human being, is he actually going to say, you know what? I was going to do it, but now I'm not. Why? Because I'm taking money from the government. Anyway, gonna end it here because I need to work on the video for my other channel. But thank you a lot for the donation. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you guys were entertained.